Hello and welcome to the Game On Expert Interviews. I am Jean Berry, your game inventor mentor, and I bring you experts who will help you grow your business, your life, and your spiritual life. And today, I'm incredibly excited because I have the amazing Susie Schaefer. Susie is the angel for cause publishing, and her love of books goes way beyond the feel of a fabric cover or a smell of a library. Her passion for helping authors publish quality books and market them successfully brings her tremendous joy, especially when they become Amazon best sellers. Welcome, Susie. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jean. It's great to be here.
So, what had you become an angel?
I actually got coined that from a new client up in Canada, and they called me their book angel. And so I was like, wow, I really like that. So I decided to run with it. I said, hey, do you mind if I use that? And they said, no, go for it. So,
I love having more angels in my life, so it's a beautiful place to be. Welcome if you are viewing live. I'm so happy to have you here. If you have questions along the way, of course, you can type them in the chat. Please let us know that you're here and at least give us a hey, hi. And if anything comes up that you want to know more about or you're excited about, give us some hearts or claps or comments and questions, and we will do our best to answer them. If you are watching this afterwards, after it's been live and you're watching the replay, go ahead and put your questions here. Anyway, I will find them and I will come back and answer your questions, or you can find us on Facebook Messenger and send your questions directly. At the end, of course, Susie has an amazing gift for you all. So as always, everyone brings some really cool stuff here. So thank you for coming, Susie. And so how did you, now we know how you became an angel. I'm curious how you got in the book world. Like, how did this all roll out?
it's really interesting. Right after my divorce, I guess 5 years ago, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to learn the ins and outs of publishing. And I said, yes. I'd always loved reading. I was an avid reader since the age of probably 4 or 5. And so when someone offered to teach me the ropes on how to navigate and help people publish independently, I said, absolutely, I want to learn this. So I jumped right in. And so I learned everything there was to know about independent publishing and how the publishing industry works, how it's changed over the years, and the difference between traditional publishing, independent publishing, online publishing, small press, all of those things. There's so many things to know. So so I started working in the industry about 5 years ago. And in 2019, it made sense to me to go ahead and launch my own brand, which is Finish the Book Publishing. Thus the pineapple. You'll see the pineapple everywhere. And so that's my logo. And it really is about, just helping authors put out the very best book possible. And now my business has actually shifted a little bit, and I'm really focusing on cause publishing, which means that authors have the ability to make an impact on the world by using their book for a cause.
That's incredibly exciting. And I know that there are lots of people in the world who are like, I'm supposed to write a book. Like, here it is, I'm supposed to write a book. I have no idea what is the first thing to do in order to write a book. What is at what stage of this kind of idea thing do most people come to you, or at what stage does it make most sense to have someone like you support them?
That's a great question. Ideally, when an author is 60 days or less from being ready to have their manuscript go into production, meaning they've written their manuscript, they've worked with an editor. If someone doesn't have an editor, I absolutely have people that I work with frequently. But they're really ready for the manuscript to go into production, meaning they're ready to do cover design, they're ready to do interior layout, and really look at marketing their book. Who is their target market? All of those things. So really, that's the point when someone would want to bring me on board to guide them through the rest of that process.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. So Daniela says we all have a book in us. Do you think that's true? I'm kind of curious.
I do, because studies show us that over 87% of the world's population wants to actually publish or write a book. And I think the number's actually probably higher. I think it's closer to 98%, because I think it's interesting. We all have very unique stories. And this year in particular has shown us how unique our stories are and how different we are and how different our experiences have been during the pandemic, whether it comes to family life, business, whatever it might be. We all have a different story to share. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great thing that we're all different and unique. And I encourage people to share their stories.
Beautiful. Well, I want to say hi to Lois and Darla and Daniela and Angie and Joanne, all for popping on live with us today. Yay, so glad
Yay!
you're here. Now, I happen to know that many of you have books, like either in process or it will be the companion to the deck that you or game that you are creating. And so I know that a lot of people inside of my community are very creatively minded. They have some sort of transformation that they want to get out into the world, and they start moving through all these different processes of getting things in place to put that out there. And yet even inside of the book itself, they're like, okay, I'm a little stuck now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the piece that shows up, especially for creative people. There are a lot of shiny things in the world for us to look at. And sometimes the book, when we get stuck, we're like, well, let's just set that over here now.
It happens. It happens a lot, actually. And that's the point where if an author, or even just someone who's writing who isn't even sure if they're going to publish their book, if they get stuck, that's really when it's a good opportunity to bring on a writing coach and help you get unstuck and help you uncover the things that you're not seeing, because there's a lot of stuff that we stuff down and we hide from, or hide in the closet, in the dark corners that we don't want to address. But that's the stuff that makes a book really good. So sometimes it takes a little prodding to get that stuff out and to actually have that transformative process through writing.
So I hear you then talking about kind of a little bit of two separate processes. One is this kind of idea of let's get it published, and the other part is let's get it done.
Exactly.
And they're two kind of separate steps inside of all of that. And do you then work with people on one-on-one coaching as well? Is that something that you are doing as well?
Yes, absolutely. And my one-on-one coaching can range anywhere from getting an author with the right editor and writing coach to get that part of the process done. Yes, it's important to get that first step done. But once they're at that point of having a finished manuscript, then it's the production phase that a lot of times stops people. People might have an entire manuscript ready to go, and yet they don't know what their next steps are. And that's where I can help guide them through that process to make sure that they're not making big mistakes, that they're doing all the things that are correct in the publishing industry, so that when they put out a book, that they have the opportunity to market it well and get traction in the marketplace. So yeah, it's two separate processes, but certainly a lot of people that I work with, they need the introduction to the editor or writing coach first, and then when they're done with that piece, then they can bring me on board and have me be there to support and guide them.
Beautiful. We have some questions coming in, and I want to stick for a second in the coaching side, and then we're going to move into the publishing side. So if you have more questions about publishing, keep writing those in here, and we will address those in just a minute. But I want to back up for just a second, because you actually helped me when we had our first conversation, and we were at the end, like we're at the end of an hour, we're like, but we still have things to talk about, because clearly we're in this same framework and mindset of like magic happening in the world. And at the end I'm like, well, yeah, and I'm writing this book too, and Susie's like, wait, what? There's another book. And of course she knows
there's a whole other level to
it. Exactly. Now we need to talk more about books. And I talked about, yeah, I hit about 10,000 words and I'm kind of at this weird place. I don't know. And you gave me a really cool, really sublime little tip. Would you be willing to
Yeah.
share that today?
Yes. What I shared with you was the sticky note method, which is really fun. Just for anybody, just take sticky notes, whatever color, use some fun markers, make it creative, make it fun. Excuse me. What I would recommend is find a place on your wall, or maybe the back of the door, or maybe a whiteboard that you're not using. And I want you to go through and I want you to think about all the words or things that come up when you think about your story, okay? And put them all on sticky notes and just, cover the wall in those. Once you get that done, then when you're ready to write, just look at your wall and find the one sticky note that you feel drawn to write about. And just write that piece. Just write that piece and then put it aside. Then the next day or the next time you feel inspired, go and pull another sticky note and write that piece. Don't worry about doing it in any linear or first, second, third process. Just write what it is that comes to you when you look at that word. Now, as you're doing the writing process, chances are you're going to have to put more sticky notes up because there's other things that are going to come up for you. But just write about that one sticky note at a time, and just put the sticky note to the side and leave it there, knowing that you've written that piece and you can come back to it later. And once you've written all of the pieces of your sticky notes, then you can go back and take those sticky notes and actually put them in an order that makes sense so that there is some flow to it. And at that point, that's probably when you're ready to work with an editor. Or you may even find that you're still feeling a little stuck and you want a writing coach. Editors do two things. They can edit the manuscript if it's completely ready to go, but sometimes what happens is you need a little bit of that writing coaching that comes in before you're ready to go into your first round of editing. And you should use an editor who works as a writing coach to go ahead and get you unstuck, because that person will help you with the flow of the book, and you'll end up with a beautiful manuscript. But the sticky note method is a great way to get started or get yourself unstuck.
Well, thank you for that sweet little gem. I really appreciate you sharing that. And of course, I have been using my sticky notes. This is the sticky note that's sitting on my desk right now about Joy Zone.
Joy Zone. I love it. Yes. I just came back off of a retreat in Sedona, Arizona, and it was really, the entire retreat was about joy and finding joy and bringing joy into your business. And it was an absolutely amazing experience.
So one of the things you talked about then is shifting into this really, cause-based marketplace. I suspect it has a lot to do with that joy piece. And how important is it then that you find an editor, publisher who's really aligned with your heart, like this piece? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. The first thing is that it is important that you do align with your editor, because your editor and you are really going to work through a lot of the stuff, like I said, that's in the dark corners, that's hidden in a closet, the stuff that is hard to talk about. So you have to have a good connection with your editor. When I introduce authors to editors, I usually will introduce them to two editors to speak with. And and I already usually have it in my head. I'm an intuitive as well, so it usually just comes in. I know who they're going to end up working with, but I want to give authors the option. So I'll have them talk to two different editors and decide which one do they connect with the most, which one gets them, because that relationship and that understanding is very, very important in writing the book and getting you through the editing phase, which honestly, editing is the toughest part of your book. After you've written it, going through editing is like the hardest part. So if you can do that and get through that and come out feeling somewhat unscathed, then you're doing a good job. And really, when I really took a deep look at what was the purpose of my business, what was the sole purpose of my business, I realized that it really was about affecting massive change and bringing change to the world. And the way to do that is with each individual author that I work with. And so every author has an opportunity to create some type of giving back or create a cause for their book. So whether a book might be on leaving an abusive relationship, their cause might be donating back to a charity that supports people who come out of those types of relationships. Excuse me. And so it gives people the opportunity to give back. And here's a great example. So say, for example, there's an author that publishes their book, and they say they sell 500 books, and they donate $1 from each one of their sales to a charity or organization. That's 500 people that have purchased their books, so you're impacting 500 people. And then there's that monetary piece, which is, say, $500 from the sale of your books, going to an organization. Okay, now let's take that out further and look at the ripple effect. If I worked with 12 authors and each one did that, we're now talking $6,000 worth of donations going out to charitable organizations and over 6,000 people being impacted by your message. So you can see it has this expansion that is able to affect the world with greater change. In addition, authors have the ability to take a page in their book, in the back of their book, where they might talk about their business or themselves as an author, a little bit about their background. But they can also dedicate a page to that organization or to a series of organizations that supports their cause, their mission for their business. So again, it's about this ripple effect. So one book has the opportunity to affect the masses. And so when we think about what we can do there, it made a lot of sense for me to really focus on the cause publishing for my business, because I said, wow, we have this opportunity, we have this platform. Why not use it for good and to make the world a better place?
That's awesome. That's really amazing. And I love that distinction, even inside your business, of saying, wait, I got this. And
Yes.
as you were speaking that, I actually was distracted by a little swallow flying in and landing right outside my window here.
I love
And
that.
I just sat there and paused for a minute while you were talking about this cause marketing.
Oh, that was our little angel that came in.
Exactly. I love that. So we do have a lot of people in my community, like I said, who are writing books or in the process of thinking about a book or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And actually tomorrow I'm starting a program called 40 Days and 40 Nights, and it turns out about half the people that have shown up in this place have shown up to write on their book. Like, they wanted just a little more structure to show up for 40 days and 40 nights. It's about dreaming, that program is about dreaming your daydreams and your night dreams to have it bring the energy into your book. And so that is, this whole group of people coming in to, get serious about writing their book. And so I'm curious, as they step into this kind of program with me and saying, okay, we're all gonna make something happen. I suspect you're gonna get a whole bunch of calls in about 40 days or so, or halfway through that when they get stuck. I don't know at which point.
When they go like, I need to know what my next steps are.
Exactly. And so what I heard you say is that the kind of the way that someone's ready to contact you is that they are just stuck. Either they're stuck inside the writing process, or they're stuck and they can't move forward because they're thinking about publishing and they don't know how to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So and you're right, that's exactly what I would recommend. If someone is feeling stuck in the writing process, reach out to me, because I can connect you with people who can help you get unstuck. That's really important. Or you might be done with the writing process and you're saying, I don't know what to do next. So reach out to me and we'll set aside some time. I do a free 30-minute discovery call, consultation, whatever you want to call it, to really ask authors, where are you at in the process? How has this been for you? And what would you like to see out of your book? Because we can figure out what are next steps for you. Whether it's you still need to go back and do editing and maybe flesh out some things for your manuscript, or are you ready to go? Are you ready to start working with a cover designer and let's make this happen. Let's get you published.
Okay, so Daniela asks, do you recommend self-publishing or sending a manuscript to larger publishing companies?
Okay, that is a great question. So thank you for that. In fact, I just did a presentation last weekend to the veterans writing group, because there are a lot of veterans that are writing their stories right now. And my answer to that is, You need to look at both. So traditional publishing is one in that if you don't have a huge platform, for example, 500,000 followers, huge platform. I mean, like we're talking Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, they have huge platforms. Traditional publishing will only pick up books from, especially first time authors, if it just is super amazing. So it's very difficult. Less than 1% of people who submit to a traditional publisher actually get picked up by that publisher. There are no big advances. The industry has changed a lot. So, and consider this, you do lose your rights to your book when you go with a traditional publisher. They pretty much just, they take your book and change it however they want to. So you lose control. If you're okay with that, go for it. It's a very typical process, and it's going to take probably at least 3 years to get your book published. Okay, so that's just traditional publishing. True independent publishing is where you keep control of your entire book, your rights, your royalties, and you publish under your own name, or we create fictitious business names for people to publish under so that it makes them look more professional. But true independent publishing, if you're a first-time author, is definitely the way to go. You can publish your first couple of books independently and then start looking for a small independent press or a traditional publisher to pick you up. So that would be my recommendation.
Right. And it is fascinating. Of course, 1% is picked up. So like you say, this if that's calling to you, and I think that this is this heart-centered place. If you feel like, no, this is calling, then definitely submit, because 1% is still picked up. So,
exactly.
You might as well check it out. But would you say then also the dawn of print on demand for books has really shifted that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So print on demand it's been the cornerstone of independent publishing. And it's great because it does allow authors who would never be able to be published otherwise have the ability to publish and have the ability to build a platform and establish themselves as an author before, maybe they can't get picked up by a traditional publisher or a small independent press. So it gives them the opportunity to create that foundation before moving to the next level.
That's beautiful. And, I keep waiting for games and decks to be able to publish on demand. I can't wait. I just, it's coming. It'll surely come.
I would say probably within the next, I would say 2 to 3 years, you'll see that available. It's very close. The fact that we can actually create decks and games and then sell them as third-party sellers on Amazon makes it this close. So it's coming. We just aren't there yet, but it'll happen.
It is really close, and I'm so excited for all these deck makers and of course, we can make the single deck. It's the kind of deck card combination that is the more difficult thing to get done on demand at the moment. But I agree, it is incredibly close, and it's coming. And I think it's partly the even printing the 3D printing machines. The more and more that we can, then you can print pieces of parts too, which is incredibly exciting. We'll be printing our own cars pretty soon. It'll be great.
Well, and I would say watch the folks that are producing decks and books that go with decks and things like that. Watch them in the marketplace, because I can guarantee you they're going to be the first ones to step into this ability to print on demand and test the waters for us. So watch what they're doing. Watch their websites. Take a note from them, because I think that they're going to be the first ones to really jump into that and say, does this work? Does this not work? And honestly, that's the best thing about this, whether it's books or decks or games. We as consumers and creators have the ability to say what works and what doesn't work, and then give feedback to Amazon and Ingram Spark and distributors like that, so they can understand what's working, what's not working. And so we have an active role in this creation and this expansion of the industry. So I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, very, very exciting. And of course, that's something that I keep my finger on the pulse on that. And so I'm inside of my Deck Magic Resource Center. I'm constantly updating the resources, it's getting new, bigger, more fabulous stuff is always
Hmm.
showing up. So it's certainly a possibility. And I love this combination of what small publishers like you can do, which says we can source from all kinds of interesting places. And so can you talk a little bit about what you do to help, as a small publisher, to help an independent person get their book, out there, marketed, Amazon bestseller, or that kind of thing?
Yes. So when I work with authors, what we do is we make sure that first of all their accounts are set up correctly, that the files are working well, that everything looks very professional. Using professional designers is key to this. So you really want to make sure that you're using the right services and that your files are uploaded correctly, that your ebook is the right format, and like all these little tiny details are super important. And then making sure that your pages on Amazon or Ingram Spark really are looking good, very professional, no errors, those kinds of things. And then looking at it from the standpoint of, where are you going? What's your target market? What are you going for? And if we need to go after reviews, we can do that. Um, and positioning your book correctly so that you can make it to Amazon bestseller, because that again gives you more marketing content to continually draw in people to your brand or to your message or your cause or whatever it is that you're doing with your book.
That's really cool. And for people who are like in this cause, so I know Dr. Angie, who she's inside of my group. She is on an anti-bullying platform, and she does such cool stuff. And we're making a game, and there's going to be a
Yeah.
book, and all those kind of things. What I love your tips about, putting a page in the back about your causes and that kind of thing. Are there any special things then that you do even inside that open up in terms of marketing or being seen because you're hanging out in this cause connection?
Yeah, it's really interesting because everything kind of feeds to each other. So you can have, like I said, a page in your book that speaks to those organizations. And what happens is it ends up connecting you with different people in different groups. And so then you might find somebody else who wants to do a book together or do an anthology or things like that. So the sky's the limit. I mean, you could certainly, if you decided to write an anthology for children on what it's like to be bullied and have that go towards your cause. So, and of course, that might lead to other things like, schools and education and parent teacher organizations. So when you look at it, it's taking that first step and figuring out, okay, what's my message? What's my cause? What's the purpose of this book? And then, um, and hopefully that will relate very well to your brand. Obviously, with the book with bullying, it does make sense, and it's a perfect match. Because what's going to happen is you're going to put that out there, but it's also going to bring people back to you and to your business and what you do. So it has like this multi-layered effect to make change and to get out to anywhere from businesses to education to societal changes, all those kinds of things. So.
Right. All right, so if you are watching today, I am curious what kind of causes are near and dear to your heart, because
Uh,
sometimes you may not even have thought what the connection is between them. It's kind of interesting to see how even bullying and, say, empowerment, that those go together and can go into almost any organization, right? As you shift into this kind of empowerment, or even adult bullying, right? Because that's a whole thing.
exactly. Yes.
um, and I'm just really excited to hear what causes are near and dear to your heart, because
Yeah.
those are the ones that, together, linking arms, we really make an impact on all of that. So incredible,
Yeah.
incredible
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I already mentioned that veterans are near and dear to my heart because they've served our country. Many of them come back with PTSD. So while it's important for us to understand veteran stories, um, it takes on another role. There's PTSD. There's MST, which is military sexual trauma that happens. That can actually lead into things like domestic abuse and domestic violence or intimate partner abuse. That can lean into, for example, children from broken homes and how does that work, and bullying and things that are happening in our schools. And, we've seen a number of school shootings and things like that. So when you look at this, there's a lot of different layers just from like one cause. I also, right now, we're almost finished with an anthology that is the product of a group that I run called Behind the Scenes, which teaches authors everything that I do in a given day. So it teaches them how to publish on their own. And every participant submits a chapter. And our book is called Pivot. Well, one of our authors happens to be going through cancer. And so she might know if she sees this, but I made the decision to dedicate the book to her because she's going through cancer treatment right now, and decided this was at the start of me deciding to go with Cause Publishing. And I said, wait a minute. So a portion of the proceeds of this book will go to fund the American Cancer Society. So, those are the kinds of things that it's really important that we're looking at. What is important to me as a person? Is it raising better kids? Is it demystifying what goes on behind closed doors with domestic abuse? Is it supporting veterans? Is it saving the rainforest? Is it making sure that, in order to save this planet, we should all be eating a more vegetarian or meat-free diet? I mean, it's all these different things. So it really can be very individual and very personal. Right. And it can line up exactly with whatever your business is so that it matches the mission of your business.
Right. Well, see, so Dr. Angie has responded to me talking about her now with a heart, but also saying, yes, that the book is about empowerment with her story about being bullied behind it. But ultimately, one of the causes that's really near and dear to her heart is teen suicide. So I mean, you talk about that thing that ripples out into that,
Yeah.
like that is one of the results. Daniela says rheumatoid arthritis awareness and empowerment for women who suffer it. Joanne is Alzheimer's and dementia. And so all these things
Yes.
that, come forward out of what we do. Now, Joanne, she goes by Joyanne, actually. And
I love that. I love that.
She made this fabulous deck of these very whimsical characters called Joybles. And, and so when you think about even Alzheimer's and dementia inside of those kind of, joyful creations is, what kind of joy can you bring to people who remember their whimsicalness, their playfulness, all those kind
Exactly.
of things inside of those causes. So I totally see this whole thing going on for you, Joyanne. Like you're gonna
Yes, and Joyanne, please drop a link to your deck because I'd love to see it. I have someone that would just love that deck, and I might have to gift it to her. So, but it's interesting that you just mentioned that too. Dementia, rheumatoid arthritis, any other health issues that we're having right now as a society. There are a lot of studies being done going back to looking at if you're eating a more plant-based diet, eliminating electronics. There's all these things that are happening. So, to affect those types of things that are happening, that's a whole nother cause in itself. Like trying to help people be healthier and live longer lives and thrive. How do we do that? So you can see that those causes are super important, and that there's a lot of things that do tag onto them. So, right. And you're right. It's just this ripple effect.
Absolutely. Well, I'm incredibly excited about it because, books are this entry point, right, for people to get their brilliance out into the world, and to have that their viewpoint be heard. Like, I'm more plant-based stuff, yes. More things about teen empowerment. Lois is saying yes, teen suicide. She's also on that one. Like these things are all coming forward, and I'm just excited that we get to talk about it in context of publishing books, because publishing books could be kind of mundane, but I know that all the people inside this community want to transform the world. Like they want to shift something, and there's something really near and dear to their heart.
Well, and let me just blow everybody's mind here and say it goes to another level. So once you have a book and you've published a book, then you have the opportunity to have someone take that book and possibly write a screenplay and take it to film. One of the things that I have actually started doing kind of as a passion project, but I'm now finding that I'm really enjoying it is helping authors take their book and turn it into a screenplay. And that's really important, especially when we're talking about teen suicide and empowerment and bullying and you know, are the foods we eat poisoning us? Like those kinds of things. Yeah, you're seeing it all the time. You're seeing a ton of documentaries come out on Amazon and Netflix right now about what are we doing in our world that is creating um, the body and the physical space that we live in. So those topics are very important, and truly the way to get that message out is to do your book, and then if you have an interest in doing creating a screenplay from that and having it pitched to production companies, absolutely do it. You may remember the movie Juno. You remember when that came out? Mm-hmm. And that was like, because it was, it was about teen pregnancy and just being different and all those types of things. That was one of those movies that I think really kind of started along that path of, just putting it out there and seeing what happened. And then all these people will come forward, and suddenly we have things like the Me Too movement. So you can see how just a small idea, and it may seem like it's super trivial to you, but you know what? Get it on paper, publish it, because it's important, and there's more people out there that are probably feeling the same way. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And there is someone actually inside my master club who has dreams of her book becoming a movie. So absolutely.
There you go.
These things are all rolling out. Joyanne did share her link. I'll make sure to get that to you.
Thank you.
And it's, it keeps going. So I know that we could talk all day, because
I know we could. We really could. We haven't gotten to the spiritual side of all this.
I know. Exactly, because that's ultimately what we're making go, right? Is this growing ourselves as spiritual beings and having it all work like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but
beautiful.
I know that you have a fabulous gift to share.
Thank you.
Can you share what you have?
Yes, I do. So I'm offering $100 off the Amazon bestseller campaign. So if you have a book that's already done and you'd like your book to get to Amazon bestseller, it normally runs at $9.50. I'm offering $100 off for anybody who mentions this little podcast that we're doing, and you can just like say thank you, Jean. So, and I'm happy to do that for you. You can also reach out to me through my website. You can schedule a 30-minute consultation that's free through finishthebookpublishing.com. But yeah, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear about your book. I'd love to hear about your idea. And if you're ready to go and you just need some help with next steps, no problem. Give me a holler.
Beautiful. I just put the link in the feed there. And of
Thank
course, you can also find us on Facebook, and friend us, messenger us, and we will answer your questions about that as well.
Absolutely.
Any last words of wisdom to all these fabulous, aspiring, soon-to-be authors?
Yeah, I would just say get out of your own way and just do it. That's what I'm just gonna say. Get out of your own way, just do it. Just get your book written and then come talk to me and we'll get it published for you.
Cool. Thank you so much for being with me here today, Susie.
You're welcome.
If you are in the Master Club, of course, we're starting the 40 Days, 40 Nights tomorrow. We'll be starting to working on whatever your heart project is, whether it be a book or something else. If you are not in the Master Club yet, why not come and join us and get one of those heart projects to completion, and so that we can call you an author at the end. So thank you so much for joining us. Susie, thank you so much for chatting with me today and sharing your wisdom, and we will see you all very soon.
Thank you so much, Jean. Take care.